Happy Friday. It's menu day, and I'm so excited because this meal plan isn't like a lot of the other ones that you're going to see. This one is easily recreatable by anybody in the US. We price everything out at Walmart, so it's easily under $60. But you know what? You can shop anywhere you want. And a lot of this is just really good basic foods that you can adjust and make it how you want. And as a bonus, a lot of them are super kid friendly. So let's take a look. Here is our meals this week. Now, I always say that this is for a family of four, but a lot of it's going to depend on your appetite. So you may want to adjust some things as needed. And if you don't have four people in your house, this may be a great way to make just three or four meals and then have plenty of leftovers. So you'll have to work with this with what you have. Here is our shopping list for the week. You'll notice it's a little bit smaller because we really focused on recipes that don't take a lot of ingredients. Our total came out to $59.86, and this was the super Walmart that was somewhat close to Richford, Virginia. It's actually about 20 miles away, which so far that's the furthest a Walmart has been from one of the zip codes that we have. So I will mention that we always assume that you have some kind of cooking oil, whatever you prefer, and that you have your favorite seasonings. You will also need, that's not on this list, some flour. It's only about 2 tablespoons, and whatever your preferred salad dressing is. Make sure before you go shopping that you double check the list to what you have in your pantry, your fridge, and your freezer, because it's very common for you to actually have some of these ingredients. Now, there's 2 links down below. The first one goes to my Walmart grocery list. You can see exactly what I picked out. Now, keep in mind, every once in a while, items are regional. That's something I can't control. So if you see a really wackadoodle price, just remove that and search for it, and you'll find whatever the regional product is in your area. The second link is to my website. You can go there and you can print out a free PDF of not only the shopping list, but all of the recipes. So let's get into this. I've had a couple questions about different ways that you can meal prep and basically pre-prep for the weekly menus. So I wanted to throw out these 3 tips. Number one, you can go ahead and pre-cook your rice because both recipes this week require already cooked rice. So either use a rice cooker or use the slow cooker method. We have a video about how to make just plain white rice in the in the slow cooker. Second option is, since we're going to get this big old family pack of chicken, we are going to use that in 3 different meals. You can go ahead and prep that chicken all at once, get your hands dirty, put them in bags ready to go, and then that night for dinner, you can just go ahead and use them. Same thing with the ham. We're going to use either chopped or diced ham. So you can go ahead and take the whole ham, open it up, chop it up, separate it out into bags. And then if you have any left over from the amount that we need, you can just go ahead and put that in your freezer. The first recipe this week is going to be Hawaiian Cow Zones with a side salad. This is super mega easy. The only thing that takes a little while is once you prepare this pizza dough, it really does need to rest for about 20-30 minutes so it can double in size. So honestly, what I do is normally I start dinner at 5 o'clock, but what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and make the pizza dough at 4:30. So that way when it is 5 o'clock, everything's ready to go. Now, we're going to use ham and pineapple and mozzarella cheese. I don't usually use a lot of sauce on these just because I like them to be more like a hot pocket. But if you had some leftover tomato sauce or Alfredo sauce, even ranch dressing, you could easily use that as a sauce. Just keep in mind that when you fold everything together and you pinch the edges, you want to make sure that your sauce is not near the edges or it'll just get really kind of sticky. We're going to do a simple side salad with some lettuce, tomato, and whatever your preferred salad dressing is. I always love a good sheet pan meal, but sometimes you do have to work out the timing. So I wanted to show you this one because it's a great example of how you can cook multiple items that need different time lengths. So in this instance, we're going to do one sauce. It's super easy. It's going to be either Dijon or yellow mustard, some honey, some oil, and your favorite seasonings. I tend to go more towards like garlic and herb. You can actually add fresh garlic to this, whatever you like. Then what we're going to do is we're going to start with our diced potatoes. You're going to go ahead and toss the potatoes with the sauce, put them on a sheet pan. I like to do mine greased, but you can do it lined. And then you're going to roast this in a 400-degree oven for 15 minutes. While that is working, you are going to take your chicken. Now, this chicken, those huge breasts are going to take forever to cook. So we're going to slice them in half long ways, and then we're going to cut them in half again. So if you use two, regular sized chicken breasts, you're going to end up with 4 pieces for each breast. So a total of 8 pieces. So you're going to pull out that pan. Make sure you have your oven gloves on because it will be hot. You're going to move your potatoes to the side and you're going to put your chicken. I like to kind of put it all in the middle. You're going to let that cook for another 15 minutes. While that's going on, you're going to take your asparagus. I like to just grab a couple of them and then break off the ends because that's where the natural weakness is. You don't even have to chop it. I do rinse it though. Then, so we toss the asparagus in our honey mustard. We're going to put that around the edges. And then I take whatever's left of my honey mustard sauce and I'm going to flip my chicken, go ahead and pour a little bit more on my chicken. And then any of the rest, I'm just going to hit like my potatoes and stuff, make sure everything's well coated. And then you just go ahead and let that go for another 12 to 15 minutes. By this point, your chicken should be done, but you would always want to use a thermometer to check that. And then boom, you've got super tender potatoes, you've got juicy chicken, and you've got asparagus. And you can easily switch that out for any vegetable, for any meat. It is like seriously the most simple sheet pan method. Okay, you know how much I love to take simple dishes or classic dishes and just kind of twist them up a little bit. So, this ground turkey and mushroom skillet, if you look at the directions, you will notice this sounds very, 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 very similar to a stroganoff. And that is correct. The only difference here is we're going to serve it over rice instead of pasta. So now it's a whole new dish. Okay. But it's basically the same exact thing. Now, I'm going to use peas and carrots for this one because we already have a plan for the other half of the bag. But honestly, you can use whatever vegetables you like here, or you could just skip it and do veggies on the side. They don't have to necessarily be in. So, this one thing I will mention here is that we do use a lot of ground turkey or ground pork. And one of the ways you can kind of up the flavor of that and make it taste a little bit more like ground beef, if that's what you're used to, we're going to use beef broth. Okay. The second thing is I like to use either Worcestershire sauce or A1 sauce because it has that steaky flavor, that beefy flavor. So that's going to help it taste more like that. Ground turkey and ground pork and even ground chicken to me really has very little taste on its own at all. So seasoning is going to make the biggest difference when it comes to using that. You can use any ground meat that you like, but those are just some nice, easy tips of how to make things feel more ground beefy without using ground beef. Okay, this one has to be one of my hands down favorite crock pot meals simply because it is so simple. You're literally going to throw your chicken breasts. You can keep them whole if you wanted to use chicken tenders, like chicken tenderloins, or use boneless, skinless, the chicken thighs. All of that works. You basically just throw it into a pan. I like to grease it first, and then you're going to dump a can of tomatoes and chilies. Now, these do come in a mild variety or a spicy variety, so pick which one works well for you. And then you're going to use taco seasoning. Just spread that around and let this sit on high in your crock pot for 4 hours or on low for 7 to 8 hours. Then, when it's time for dinner, all you really have to do is take 2 forks and shred it. So simple. And then you can take that shredded kind of salsa like chicken. That's another thing. If you don't want to use the diced tomatoes and chilies and you have an open jar of salsa, you could easily add a cup or a cup and a half of salsa instead. Another great way to use up something that's already open and get a little bit different flavor. But once you have that shredded chicken, it is so easy to make that into burritos, into tacos, into nachos. Seriously, there's endless varieties here. We're going to make it with tacos. Now, you could do either like the flour tortillas or you could do the hard taco shells. They were about the same price. So I changed it up and I used the taco shells. We already have lettuce and tomato and sour cream, so we can use that tonight, as well as we're going to use some shredded cheese. And then, as far as side dishes go, we're going to serve this with some refried beans. I simply take this out of the can, I mix it up with a spoon, top it with cheese, and then microwave it. And it's so simple. And then for the corn, same thing. You can just microwave it or heat it up on the stove. And this is just really a nice filling meal that literally took seconds to make. There is one casserole that both of my kids absolutely adore, and it is kind of the copycat Cracker Barrel hash brown casserole. And so recently I have found that you can do this on your own without having to buy like the frozen hash browns. So we're going to take some potatoes and we're going to shred them. If you don't have the ability to shred them, you can use a food processor. Even my salad spinner has a shredder on top that's real easy. And this is one of those that instead of it just being a plain hash brown casserole, we're going to add in some chopped ham and some broccoli. Now, I do find that I like to steam the broccoli first because one, a lot of times those broccoli florets are huge and it's hard to chop them when they're frozen. And second, I find that if you throw in ice cold broccoli, sometimes it adds a lot of extra liquid and sometimes they just I don't know, they just have a funny flavor to me. So I like to just steam them in the microwave, let them cool for a minute, chop them first. And then this is simply one of those where you mix everything together and then put it in a pan and then bake it. Now, I will say that some people do like to add where they take crackers and melted butter and do the top. My kids won't go near that, so I skip that part, but you could. So that's an easy adaptation that you can do here. Now, I will also say that we are going to use a can of cream of chicken soup just because it's honestly it's the simplest way and it's cheaper. But if you want a super easy recipe for like make it home chicken cream of chicken soup, let me know down below and I'll do a video on that. I found one recently that is so easy, so simple, and literally you can make a huge batch and you can freeze it. So let me know if you want to see that. The last recipe for this week is chicken fried rice. This is so simple and honestly it really takes about 15 minutes for me, and this is one of those dishes that I have done it a few times and completely messed it up. And then now I've finally gotten into the groove about what order to do this in. So, the way that I make it to where I don't make it like some gummy mess is I'm going to heat a couple tablespoons of oil in my skillet. I'm going to add my chopped chicken and I'm going to let it cook until everything is no longer pink, got some nice brown spots, and then I'm going to remove the chicken from the pan completely. Now, if there's not much oil left, you can go ahead and add a little bit more oil at this point, but I don't usually have to. Then I'm going to add half of my bag of peas and carrots and I'm going to let that cook. This is why I don't really need a lot of oil because it's already frozen and that water starts to evaporate and it makes steam and it works really well. I push these over to the side and then I crack 2 eggs in the pan and I scramble them. The hardest part is to not mix the eggs with the veggies because that's how my brain wants to work. So I try to keep the skillet to one side and keep the eggs on one side. And as soon as those are, looking like scrambled eggs, now it's time to add everybody back to the pan. So we're going to add 2 to 3 cups of cooked rice, our already cooked chicken. And then this is where I'm going to add the soy sauce. I find if I add it too early, either the flavor combo doesn't work out. So I add it towards the end. And then you can also add your favorite seasonings. So if you wanted to add some garlic powder, onion powder, fresh garlic, if you have sesame oil, that's always a good topper. This is just super easy to make. Now, this is one of those that if you had any leftover veggies in your fridge or you had some odds and end bags of frozen veggies in your freezer, easy way just to add them in there and then you can turn it into just like a super veggie chicken fried rice, but that's totally up to you. But I would do this towards the end of the week so that way if there was anything left over from other vegetables, I would throw it in here. Here are our low cost fruit options this week. I am noticing that the citrus is not always being on sale right now, but I am noticing a lot of apples are coming on sale. I am noticing some things that we typically think of as summertime fruits, mangoes, um, watermelons, even berries are definitely starting to get better price. But once again, I'll tell you that Walmart doesn't always have the cheapest fruit prices. They're pretty good. So if you're a one-stop shopper, these are definitely good options. But if you tend to shop at multiple stores or you have that ability, always check your local store ads because you may find that they have loss leaders in their produce department on seasonal fruits and even vegetables too. If you've made it all the way to this point, I just want to say thank you so much for supporting this channel and for viewing our videos. If you want more menus, please go look at our playlist. We have a ton of different menus. Some of them are $60, $70, $100. We try to kind of hit all price ranges. And then you can always visit our website, and then you can get all the free printable meal plans as well. And last but not least, if you're new here, please like and subscribe and sign up for our email list. We send out a newsletter once a week, and it tells you of when we have new videos as well as new menus. So I hope you all have a fabulous weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.